Hello, all you creepy crawlers out there. Welcome to another episode of the Blowing Smoke Podcast with Kimiko Kusanagi. Today's topic: the last 29 days of Ripley's life. So, if you don't know who Ripley is, and if you haven't watched at least the first 3 Aliens, you're living under a rock and go watch them, okay? So, light up and listen in. So, watch the first 3 Alien movies, okay? Consecutively. Back to back to back, if you can. And, a thought occurred. Excluding the hypersleep in which she was unconscious, Ripley didn't live for as long as it seems after first contact with the xenomorph or the alien, okay? So let's break this down. First movie, Alien. Ripley's consciousness of being awoken from the hypersleep on board the Nostromo was, she was woken up by the homing beacon signal of the derelict. To the moment she goes back into hypersleep aboard the Narcissus takes place between June 3rd and June 6th, 2122. A mere 4 days. Now let's go on to the second movie. In Aliens, Ripley and the Narcissist are found approximately May 16th, 2179. The main storyline of Aliens takes place between July 8th, when Ripley is informed of what happened during her extended sleep and the issues on LV-426, and July 28th, 2179. When she and the survivors of the Colonial Marines mission to rescue the civilians of Hadley's Hope enter hypersleep again on board the Sulaco approximately 21 days later. Finally, Aliens 3. Ripley's consciousness in Aliens 3 begins on August 9th, 2179, after the emergency pod jettisoned from the Sulaco crash lands on Florina 161 and ends with her suicide 4 days later on August 12th, 2179. Now, if you actually do the calculations, that renders 29 days conscious, or 29 conscious days, in which Ripley transforms from an innocent prude to a battle-hardened yet damaged anti-hero in her epic fight against the alien creature, the xenomorph, and all its forms across many war zones. So, in a way, it's kind of depressing. It's terrible, it's chaotic, mildly claustrophobic, and supremely entertaining. The thought that the last month of her life, Ripley was more or less in hell. She was confused and thrown into these situations, and her mental state, just in general, it was a constant struggle for survival. And it adds a very disturbing human tone to the character and a painful empathy to her. Now, if you don't know, there is a director's cut in Aliens, the second movie, where basically you find out that she was her extended sleep was 49 years or something. And basically when she did come back, everything had changed. So much changed. Her daughter, when she left, was very young, and by the time she got back out of that extended hypersleep, her daughter was already dead. And then having to adjust to not being a pilot anymore and having to find another job somewhere else. She took on all these other jobs. She lived in this shitty little apartment. She wasn't coping well. And with the nightmares on top of that, plus the extensive therapy that she had just barely started to go through before the company decided to send that asshat to basically, recruit her into heading to Hadley's Hope, which was a really bad idea, obviously, And to add to this final little piece here, in which despite her best efforts, death was still inevitable, only to be brought on her by her own actions in a selfless suicide. And the saga is worth a comparison to any great classical Greek tragedy. So it's, with this realization and conclusion, like the last 29 days of Ripley's life was absolutely horrifying. And then on top of that, let's go back just a little bit. So in Aliens, when she realizes and she knows her daughter, who was very young at the time, or what she remembered, is now dead. And then she gets on to Hadley's Hope, and then she finds Newt, who is roughly maybe around the same age as her daughter, and she becomes really attached to Newt. And what happens? Newt dies in 3. Drowned in her hypersleep chamber. And if you go back a little bit further, like, a lot of this shit wouldn't have happened if, A, she wouldn't have brought that damn cat on the fucking ship in the first Alien. And then, what does she do? Oh, no, don't leave my cat. I need to get my cat. And then she goes and gets her fucking cat. And hell breaks loose, right? Over a fucking cat. In the second movie, she tells the cat, yo, no, you stay here. So she never sees that cat again. The cat's basically dead. And then she gets Newt, which basically replaces the cat. And it's, oh no, we can't leave Newt. We have to go get Newt. I need to save Newt. And then she gets Newt. And then what happens in 3? Newt's dead. You went and saved that child from nothing. Either that child was going to die there. It was just, inevitable that poor child was going to die. And that's freaking terrible. And then we get into the third movie. Newt's dead. She's stuck in this crappy prison with a whole bunch of dudes that either really don't like women or really do like women. She shaves her head, basically because, the reason why their heads were shaved there is because there was a lice outbreak and she didn't want to get lice. I don't blame her. Shave your head. Get it over with. Who cares? And then it turns out, she's still impregnated with a xenomorph. Queen Alien. So yeah, she jumps off. Commits suicide. But, as we all know, there's still more movies after this, and somehow they extracted some of her DNA, created another Ripley that is actually a Ripley alien hybrid, and somehow has all those memories. Don't you think that particular clone at that point in the next movie, who retains some of Ripley's memories, she's going to remember all that fucking trauma, all the shit that happened in the last 29 days of her fucking life. On top of that, she knows that she's not completely human, and she is a hybrid of this alien fucking species. So she has completely different instincts on top of her human instincts. Like, the turmoil that Ripley is in these fucking movies is just astronomical. But, like I said, very much entertaining, great movies. A lot of people don't like basically, a lot of people don't like the third, and so on after that. And then we have the Prometheus movies. Prometheus 1, Prometheus 2, or is it Alien Covenant? I don't fucking know. There's too many of these goddamn things. And then they changed the fucking names, and now it's a fucking prequel to all the shit that fucking happened. And, yeah, you're screwing with it too much. You really are. Still love it, but stop screwing with it. Well, that's basically it for me. This is a much shorter podcast than anticipated. Let's go ahead and get a thought of the day. Wisdom. To focus on the past is to lose the future. Heed advice from an older person, which will allow you to move on. Maybe that's what Ripley should have done instead of listening to that asshat from the company and was like, oh no, we promise you'll be safe. You're only going to be there to tell people what fucking happened. You're not technically a soldier or anything like that. Okay. At that point, we should have took some wisdom and told that asshat, no. I'm not going. And even though she actually did a few times and then just kind of gave in after that. Because at that point, there was like, you know what, everything has changed so much and it's not like I really fucking have anything to fucking lose. Everybody I know is fucking dead. Might as well go on this fucking mission. But in wisdom, also, once that child, when Newt was snatched up by the alien, taken down there and cocooned, instead of, well, fuck, you know, I lost my child. I just lost this second child. I need to go get her. No, you really don't, though. Like, for serious. If you really think about it, the way they found all those other colonists all stacked up on the wall and shit, it was kind of going to be an inevitable thing that, like, let's say you got Newt and she was already impregnated with the alien thing. You just done brought that fucking thing back, basically. And the corporation or whatever was going to fucking take that thing from her anyways, and Newt was going to die. So either Newt was going to die there, Newt was going to die later because she was impregnated with the alien species, or let's just go with the actual long run of she drowned in her hyper sleep chamber. So if you rewind that back, maybe she should have just left Newt at that point. Be like, you know what, fuck it. Me and Hicks here, we need to get the fuck out. Got on that fucking thing with Bishop and Hicks and shit, and then just left. Blowed that other shit up from fucking space, and end of fucking movie. Ripley would have lived on and maybe hooked up with Hicks, maybe, you know, lived her life a little longer than 29 days. Just saying. Decisions are hard. Alright. Well, that's it for me, and we'll see you for the next one. And you stay creepy, like Kimiko Kusanagi. Okay? Bye! When it's hard to get up in the morning, I go and make myself coffee. And you know what? The best part of waking up is Blowing Smoke Podcast as your cup. Merch available.